Hey, what's going on everyone? I am the OPJellicent and we are team building for ICBA week number 5 up against the Aberdeen Azelfs coached by DarudeLeafStorm. Definitely a very good battler from what I've heard, but this matchup is honestly not very bad. The only really problematic mon on this team for us is that Genesect, which was his S tier, but despite that, we have a ton of checks to the rest of his team and a ton of pivots too, so that's definitely very nice. But you can see the 6 Pokemon that I am bringing up at the top of your screen, and you can see his 11 over on the right. And let's just go ahead and hop into his 11 Pokemon right here. Up first, he has the Genesect, which is definitely the biggest threat to my team. A Scarf set with like a Bug type move could definitely be a big threat with like X-Scissor or a Bug Buzz, and that's mainly because the third mon, as I'll talk about, the Direct Hero, actually traps both of my Bug Resists, which are Mega Mawile and Entei, so definitely a problematic mon right there with the Genesect. He also has the Victini, which is not a Z Captain, so it's definitely not as much of a threat as it could be, but it's definitely still hits pretty hard with like fire type attacks. I actually don't have a banded V-Crate switch into my team, and the only mons that actually live a hit are the Entei and the Flagon, both of which take like 80%, so after a few Stealth Rock switch-ins, they're definitely not going to be taking those hits either, but I brought a very offensively oriented team this week, so we're not really trying to switch into Banded V-Crate, we're trying to sack the least useful member, and then switch into something and get rid of that Victini, so that's kind of the idea with Victini right there. He has the Dugtrio, which if he's really expecting my Mega Mawile or Entei to come, because those are my main Genesect counters, he might bring Dugtrio. It could be like a Z set. It is one of his Z move users. It could be Ground Z or Rock Z to hit my Kyurem Black, or it could just be like a Scarf Dugtrio to outspeed any sort of Scarfer I might want to run. He has the Rotom Wash, which is definitely, it was one of the biggest things that prevented me from bringing Dragon Dance Flagon, since it takes like 40% from a +1 Dragon Claw, so I really think he'll go for it with a Fizz-Def set just to switch into my Entei and my Flagon very well. I'm not bringing Entei, and I'm not bringing the Dragon Dance Flagon, so I'm not too worried about that. Hopefully he doesn't run like a Scarf set, because Greninja is one of my biggest threats to his team, and if we can avoid getting checked by Rotom, that would definitely be very great. Yeah, but we do also switch into the Rotom very well with our Electros, which we can definitely run a Spit-F set to help out with that, so that's really nice. He can Volt Switch for Mantum. Same kind of thing for Jolteon. It can't really touch my Kyurem Black or Electros very well. It can throw off a T-Wave, but really, if he's really expecting something like a Greninja to come, if he wants to outpace that with Jolteon, he could definitely do that, but my Electros pretty much switches into that thing every time, and the Electros cannot get Thunder Waved, so that's very nice, and yeah, I'm really not too worried about Jolteon. He has the Serena, which was pretty much the big thing that prevented me from bringing a Webs lead. Say if I brought Sash Livani, he could lead off with Genesect, U-turn out into the Serena as I get up Webs, and then Rapid Spin the Webs away as he knocks me out. So, unfortunately, that was the biggest stop to my Webs idea, but it's alright. Other than that, Serena's kind of a threat. It's kind of blown back my Kyurem Black, my Entei, my Greninja if it's carrying Ice Beams, so it could try to threaten some of my mons with high jump kick. A Scarf set is definitely looking pretty viable, since it does get access to U-turn, but really, if Serena's pretty one-dimensional, I think we have prepped for it pretty well. He has the Noivern, which is his second Z-Mon. This is probably one of the biggest offensive threats to my team alongside Genesect. Obviously, Genesect is a bigger threat, but it does outpace my Greninja by 1 base speed, which is really annoying, similarly to how my Greninja outpaced that Mega Pidgeot by 1 base speed. We're on the receiving end of the 1 base speed over this time, so Noivern is definitely a big problem. Our Electros can take 2 if earning an Assault Vest, which I guess I might as well say I am, so that's definitely very nice, but it's the biggest Greninja check on my team. The only other thing that he actually has to outspeed that are Jolteon and potential Scarfers. So Noivern definitely a big threat. It can also check my Kyurem Black very well, and it can carry Flamethrower to hit my Mega Mawile, which I would want to switch into Dragon type attack. So all things to keep in mind with Noivern right there. He has the Deontay. Deontay's really not that big of a threat. It's checked by stuff like Iron Head Entei if he's expecting that. Electros switches into it very well. It only takes like 30% from Diamond Storm, and the AV set I'm bringing takes like 20% from Moonblast. It is one of his Stealth Rockers alongside the Dugtrio, so either Dugtrio or Deontay can be a Stealth Rocker. It can also just be like an annoying mon with like Toxic, and I don't believe it gets any reliable recovery, but we do have some Steel type moves on our team to try to check Deontay, but I'm not too worried about it. He has the Delcatty, not a big threat at all. It has a really terrible attack stat, and I guarantee you now that I'm talking bad about Delcatty, it's going to do some work, but I don't think it gets access to Fake Out either, but Mega Mawile with Intimidate completely shuts that thing down, and I'm not too worried about Delcatty. He has the Mighty Yana, which I'm bringing a Mono Psychic attacking Necrozma this week. I'm really not expecting Mighty Yana to come, just because it has a really terrible matchup against a lot of the other stuff, like Mega Mawile and Entei, so if he does bring Mighty Yana, it's definitely going to be kind of frustrating, because I am going for game with Necrozma this week, but I really don't expect that to come. And then finally Mega Bayonet. which is a really annoying mon. It's one of the biggest reasons why I couldn't bring Dragon Dance Flagon as well, because he does have the Prankster Will-O-Wisps, obviously, and he can also Prankster Will-O-Wisp as I try to Sucker Punch that thing with my Big and Mawile, so all things to keep in mind. But other than that, it actually hits pretty hard with Shadow Claw. It has a base of 165 attack, so very big threat. But let's go ahead and hop into the 6 Pokemon that I am bringing this week. Alright, up first here we have a Life Orb Greninja, which completely plows through my opponent. Water Dark coverage definitely just plows through his team, and we pretty much U-turn on the switch-ins to this, which would be a Assault Vest Serena and a Spadaffer Wash. So, really great bring right here. We're bringing Life Orb. I wanted to go Water Z to Oko the Deontay, but I figured we could just U-turn out on that anyway, and it wouldn't be able to switch in again after, so that's definitely a good plan, and we do have some Deontay counters on this team too, but other than that, we miss out the Oko on the Genesect. I really wanted to put Hidden Power Fire on here, but I figured Shuriken would be a good bet in case he tries to bring Scarf Dark Trio and trap this. We can Life Orb Shuriken that and guaranteed knock it out with, I believe it's 3 hits. If we do get them in, that would be pretty unfortunate, but if he's not Scarf, then we can also just U-turn out on that, which is definitely very nice. But yeah, this is pretty much, it's a really great way to plow through his team alongside my dual U-turn core, which can get this thing in safely. So really, I don't plan on hard switching this thing in at all. I'm just going to try to get it in when I can, throw off some attacks, and weaken his team for my main win condition, as you guys will see later. But let's go ahead and move on to Arceus Black now. Alright, up next right here we have Domino Arceus Black. We're bringing a substitute Ground EMZ set, and the idea with this thing is he might be pressured out when I bring it on something like a Rotom Wash or the Serena. I can get up that substitute and just hit what's in front of me. Ground EMZ Earth Power does guarantee an Oko on the Deontay, and other than that, Ice Beam plus Hidden Power Fire pretty much hits everything else. We also guaranteed Oko some of the other mons in his team with Ground Z, such as Victini and the Jolteon, which is definitely very nice. And Hidden Power Fire is actually a roll on Genesect. I was very surprised to see it didn't Oko, even with the max special attack investment, but I guess we can try to get up a Rocks and maybe make that work. But I definitely feel as though the set can do a ton of work. Same kind of thing with Greninja. I'm not going to be switching it in. I'm going to try to get it in safely with my dual U-turn core of Electros plus Flygon, and try to get this thing to do some work and help out my win condition. But let's go ahead and move on to our Electros now. Alright, next up here we have an Assault Vest Electros, and this is definitely one of the most instrumental Pokemon in winning this match. Pretty much, this mon switches into like half his roster. It switches into the Doug Trio, the Jolteon, the Rotom Wash, the Noivern, and the Deontay. So pretty much if one of those Pokemon is a much bigger threat than some of the others, I might preserve this thing's health just for that mon, and pivot out into something like my Kyurem Black or Flygon. I know I said I wouldn't be switching them in hard, but if I really need the health on this, I might go ahead and do that. But we have max HP, max speed F with a Sassy Nature, just making it as fast as possible, and U-turn, Flamethrower, Flash Cannon, Knockoff. Flamethrower Oko's the Genesect, Flash Cannon gives me a way to hit the Mega Deontay, well, regular Deontay, and Knockoff is great to catch stuff like Victini, which if we knock off the Choice Band Victini, that would actually be really helpful because we have no switch-ins on this team. And other than that, U-turn can help bring in some of my bigger threats. Say if he goes out into the Rotom on this thing, I can U-turn out, bring in my Greninja if he's in range of that. I can bring in my Kyurem Black, get up a substitute as he tries to Will-O-Wisp or T-Wave me, and Volt Switch will not break that substitute. So that's kind of some of the scenarios I was looking at with this thing, but yeah, Electros is definitely very important this week, and it's probably going to be my best pivot. Well, let's go ahead and move on to the win condition, which is our Necrozma. Alright, next up here we have our win condition, which is our Necrozma, and we're bringing a Mono Psychic attacking set, as I said. Iron Defense, Calm Mind, Moonlight, Stored Power. This was the set that you saw spammed on the ladder all the way back at the beginning of the Sun and Moon Gen 7 era. And pretty much, I definitely still think it has a viability in this matchup. Pretty much, if he brings the Mightyena, the set's not going to do anything until he sacks that thing off. So, I'm definitely going to try to, like, mask what the set is if he tries to bring the Mightyena, but I really don't think Mightyena is a very good bring against me, so that's why I decided to go with the set. After 2 Calm Minds and an Iron Defense, we definitely just win the match with this thing, clicking Stored Power, because the worst he could do to me is try to roar me out with Jolteon, and Roar is obviously negative priority, so we could just knock that thing out with Stored Power. So I definitely think this thing can come through. It can also set up on stuff like a Noivern after it's gotten the Draco Meteor special attack drops, because he might want to try to pressure out my Greninja or the Kyurem Black with that. So if I go out into the Electros and I switch out into this, I can definitely just use that thing as setup fodder. So that's definitely very nice, and I really think this thing has a ton of potential this week. So let's go ahead and move on to our Flygon. Alright, next up right here we have our Flygon, and pretty much these last 2 Pokemon are failsafe win conditions, similarly to what we did back in week 1, number 3 against Jarrett, except this time we're running a Choice Scarf set because Dragon Dance definitely did not have a ton of viability, since Flygon is not a Z-Mon. So Outrage can definitely plow through his team, and we do outspeed the Genesect by 1 base point, so Fire Punch can pick that thing off if he decides to leave it in for whatever random reason. The biggest stops to this thing are obviously Mega Bayonet with a Prankster Will-O-Wisp, and defensive Rotom Wash with the which can Will-O-Wisp me too. Throw off Hydro Pumps, it could even carry HP Ice, so I'll probably use this thing as a pivot to U-turn and bring in some of my bigger threats in the early game. I could definitely see myself leading with this thing, but yeah, I really think if he does bring the like a pretty Dragon Week build, which people have been bringing pretty Dragon Week builds, so I figured Dragon Spam could be pretty good against him. I didn't want to ring Scarf Kyurem, as good as that was too. I just decided to go with Scarf Flagon right here. And yeah, because this thing can also not get trapped by Dugtrio because of the Levitate, and we can go ahead and U-turn out on that, which is definitely very nice. And I really think this thing has a ton of potential this week, and pretty much this is I'm not really gonna rely on this to win. It's just if I see a scenario where Flagon can come in and just click Outrage and claim some kills, I definitely think it can come through. But let's go ahead and move on to our final Pokemon, which is our Gorbis. Alright, and our final Pokemon right here is our Gorbis, which is running a set Focus Sash Shell Smash set. Trying saying that a ton of times, Focus Sash, Shell Smash, but pretty much this is our second failsafe win condition. If Necrozma somehow goes bad, we can bring this thing in, and his only hazard setters which could break my Focus Sash are Stealth Rock's Dugtrio and Stealth Rock's Deontay, and I really don't think he'll have the opportunity to set those up, because Kyurem Black and Greninja definitely do threaten those a lot, so if he does want to set up Stealth Rocks, he'll pretty much just have to sack those Pokemon, which is very nice. But Surf, Ice Beam, Hidden Power Grass, pretty standard coverage. We're running Surf over Hydro Pumps. Hydro Pump would be nice to maximize damage against the Genesect, since we do have to run Hidden Power Grass over Hidden Power Fire for the Rotom Wash, but that +2 Surf does Oko, and Ice Beam can hit stuff like the Noivern, as well as that Sarino, which our other coverage doesn't really hit very well. So I really think this thing can be a nice failsafe win condition in case Necrozma does not end up working out. Hits his entire team pretty much very well. If he does bring like a very spit F Rotom, he can eat a +2 Hidden Power Grass, so that is something to keep in mind. I might want to get some chip damage on that thing, say with my Greninja's U-turn. But yeah, that is going to be the team for this week. Let me know what you guys go ahead and think down below in the comments. Would you have built anything differently? Would you have taken a different route? Do you think we're going to win? But yeah, the match will be live tomorrow at 10 a.m. Eastern. Be sure to go ahead and tune into that, and I'll see you guys then. Later.